When our son was born, my then husband and I knew it was time for more space. The apartment that had served us well for late-night takeout and Netflix binges suddenly felt cramped with the addition of a crib, baby gear, and the unpredictable noise of a colicky infant. So we did what many young families do. We searched for a house. We landed on a charming old property, an old craftsman with creaky floorboards, slanted ceilings, and just enough history to feel romantic. It had a wide front porch with flaking white paint, stained glass windows in the dining room, and a clawfoot tub that I imagined myself soaking in while my baby slept soundly down the hall. We fell in love with its imperfections and bought it almost immediately. Looking back, I should have known better. I'd always had an overactive imagination, particularly after dark. As a child, I'd had a traumatic run-in with a neighbor boy who used to peer through my windows at night. Silent, motionless, like some twisted game of hide-and-seek I hadn't agreed to play. After that, night became a minefield of shadows and imagined whispers. Even as an adult, the dark never fully let go of me. Still, I tried to be reasonable. The old house groaned and creaked in the wind. The towering trees scraped the siding when storms rolled in, and the back gate, rusted at the hinges, never stayed latched for long. Radiant heat hissed like a snake through the pipes, and the windows made clicking noises as they cooled. "It's just an old house," I'd whisper to myself while pulling the covers up to my chin. Old houses make noises. Our medium-large dog, Cooper, offered a strange kind of security. He wasn't aggressive, but he was alert, ears pricking at every unknown sound. I'd often watch him stand at attention near the back door, growling low and uncertain, and tell myself he was just hearing raccoons or the wind rattling the trash bins. That worked for a while. Then, things changed. My husband and I separated before our son's 4th birthday. The split was amicable enough. Paperwork, tears, shared custody. He took the dog. I kept the house. Suddenly, the house didn't feel so charming. It felt empty, vast in its silence. Cooper was gone, and without him, every creak was sharper, more suspect. Every shadow stretched longer, but I told myself to grow up. I was the adult now, the only adult in the house. My son needed me to be solid. That mindset worked for a while. The noises came and went. I stopped checking every thump. I learned to ignore the rattling back gate and the occasional click of a door settling into its frame. Even when my heart raced in the dark, I stayed in bed until one evening, just after sunset, when everything changed. It was a Thursday, I think, late spring. My son and I were curled up on the couch in the front room, watching an old animated movie for the 5th time that week. He was nestled under my arm, a small, warm weight, while the television flickered blue light across the walls. My phone buzzed, and then abruptly died in my hand, battery finally giving out after a day of half-hearted reminders to plug it in. With a sigh, I untangled myself and padded barefoot into the kitchen to find the charger. As I entered the room, I felt it, a sharp, immediate, almost primal jolt of awareness. Goosebumps prickled my arms. The air changed. I couldn't explain it, but something felt wrong. Not just strange, wrong. The kitchen was dark except for the fading dusk filtering through the back windows. I crossed to the counter and caught movement. No, stillness outside. My eyes adjusted, and that's when I saw them. A figure, sitting cross-legged in the yard, perfectly still. They were wearing a hood pulled up over their head and dark sunglasses, even though the sun was nearly gone. No movement, no reaction to my presence. They sat there, statuesque, as though they had always been there and always would be. I froze. Slowly, I stepped closer to the window, certain my mind was playing tricks on me. But no, there they were, unmoving, their face turned toward the house. I was sure they could see me. More disturbingly, I was certain they wanted me to see them. My mouth went dry. I locked the back door on instinct, then turned and grabbed the charger and my dead phone. My son was still in the front room, oblivious. I hurried into the dining room where my laptop was open and connected. The screen glowed too brightly in the dim room as I typed a frantic message to the first friend I saw online. Someone is sitting in my yard staring at the house. My phone is dead. Please call the police if I don't message back. I waited, fingers hovering. Nothing changed. The figure didn't move. I eventually got my phone to flicker to life, just long enough to dial 911. I tried to sound calm, rational. I told the dispatcher I thought the person had probably left, but wanted an officer to check the yard just in case. I couldn't shake the image of that figure, sitting so calmly in the grass. The dispatcher stayed on the line. "Can you check the back door and see if they're still there?" she asked gently. I didn't want to. Every cell in my body screamed to leave it be, but I crept toward the kitchen, crouching below the window line, feeling like a child sneaking past monsters in the dark. The back door was locked, but then I remembered something. The dog door. It had been installed by the previous owners, an oversized flap for a breed much bigger than Cooper had been. We'd never gotten around to replacing or sealing it. After the divorce, I meant to fix it. I never did. And now, staring at it, I realized it offered direct access into my house. I stood slightly, just enough to peer out the kitchen window, and there, right there, only inches from the glass, was the hooded figure. They were standing now, closer than I thought possible. The sunglasses were so dark I couldn't see the eyes behind them, but I knew they were looking at me. Not through me, at me. My breath left me in a wheeze. 5, into the dark. I dropped below the window, heart pounding so loudly I thought the dispatcher could hear it through the phone. "She's right outside," I whispered. "Right at the window." She moved. "She's standing now." The dispatcher's voice stayed calm, steady. "Get your child. Go to a room with a lock. Stay on the line." "I have to grab him," I said. "He's in the front room." The dog door. The image of it flashed in my mind again. Too large, unguarded, like a mouth left open in sleep. I didn't wait. I crawled to the living room, my knees hitting the floorboards with painful thuds, then scooped up my son, confused, groggy, asking questions. "What's going on, Mommy?" "We're going to play a game," I lied, carrying him quickly down the hall. "We're going to hide, okay? Real quiet, like statues." He liked games. That was my saving grace. We made it to the hallway bathroom, the only room with a lock that felt solid. I shut the door, twisted the little knob, and sank to the floor with him still in my arms, holding the phone close to my ear. That's when I heard it. The soft flap of the dog door swinging, once, twice. Like someone was testing it. The dispatcher must have heard my breath catch. "Do you need to leave the house?" she asked, her tone changing. "Is someone trying to enter?" "She's at the dog door," I whispered. "I think she's reaching in." I strained to listen. There was a sound like fingers tapping against tile. Not on the floor, too high. On the counter, inside the kitchen. I held my son tighter, both of us frozen in place. And that's when I realized he was shaking. "I'm sending officers now," the dispatcher said. "They're minutes away. Can you safely leave the house?" "I don't know," I whispered. "If she's in, I don't know where she is now." Silence stretched between my breaths, filled only by the faintest sound of something creaking down the hall. Not the wind, not the old house settling. Footsteps. "I think she's inside," I said. "Ma'am, I want you to leave the house if you can do so safely. Do you have access to a door?" "Yes, the front." I clutched my son tighter and opened the bathroom door an inch. Nothing. No sign of her. We moved quickly. I didn't wait. We bolted down the hallway, barefoot on the old wooden floor, through the living room, and flung open the front door so hard it hit the wall. We ran. Across the street to the neighbor's house, where light and noise and the sounds of laughing from a dinner party reached my ears like salvation. I banged on the door, tears already falling. They opened immediately. "Please," I gasped. "Someone's in my house. I think she came through the dog door." They took us in without a question. My son was whisked away by their teenage daughter, given cookies and a juice box while I sobbed on their couch, still on the phone with the dispatcher. From their front window, I watched my own house, empty on the outside, lit faintly by the porch light. I stared at the kitchen window, half expecting to see her there again. The police arrived minutes later, 2 cruisers, lights spinning silently. I watched them go around the side of the house, flashlights slicing the night. I held my breath. After several minutes, an officer emerged from the shadows, leading someone out from the side gate. She wasn't struggling, she wasn't yelling, just walking, calm as a summer breeze. It was her, the hooded woman with the dark sunglasses. She wore them even now, in the dark. Her hood was up, and her sleeves were too long, covering her fingers. One officer said something into his radio while the other held her gently by the elbow. She didn't resist, just turned her head toward my house, as if still fascinated by it, as if she'd lived there once and was simply coming home. Later, the officers explained they found her sitting on the back step, one arm halfway inside the dog door, lazily swinging it back and forth like she was waiting for a friend to let her in. She never said why she was there, never explained herself. She had no ID. She was calm, too calm. That night, after filing a report and thanking the neighbors 100 times over, I went home. I couldn't sleep. I boarded up the dog door using old plywood and screws. I left every light in the house on and slept on the floor in my son's room with a baseball bat in one hand and my phone clutched in the other. For weeks afterward, I was jumpy. Every creak made me sit upright. Every sound outside felt like a threat. I checked the back gate 10 times a day. I installed cameras, a new lock, a motion sensor light, a proper dog door cover, and yet, I never felt safe again. Because the truth is, I wasn't sure anymore. I couldn't tell if the noises that had haunted me before, the ones I'd written off as old house quirks, had ever been harmless. Maybe she'd been coming around for longer than I realized. Maybe she'd watched us for weeks, months. Maybe she knew when we were home, when we were alone, when the dog was gone. Maybe that night was just the one where she got close enough to try. We moved out within the year. I couldn't take it anymore. The creaks, the shadows, the whispers I now believed might have been real. The new house is newer, brighter, sterile in a comforting way. No dog door, no creaky pipes, no old gate that swings in the wind. I still wake up some nights with my heart racing. Sure, I heard something, but here's the thing that haunts me most. The woman never tried to run, never hid, never fought. She just sat there because she didn't need to sneak in. She was waiting for me to open the door, and the dog door, that was never locked.